Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I am Gideon, and today we are going to be doing my second episode of the Player Spotlight Series. Yes, today we are going over 6 players from the 3A and 4A classifications in Colorado football, and let me tell you, we got some really good players today. We have Zavious Chineth from Northfield, Pierce Decker from Pooter. We have Jack Hodge from Thomas Jefferson, Ethan Mangrum from Sand Creek. We also have Josiah Manu from Thompson Valley and Jake Pisciotta from Pueblo South. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over a mini player profile, basically how they have done the past few seasons. We're going to go through a film breakdown that was done by one of our co-founders, Simon. We're going to go through some of the film notes, the offers that these players have, as well as some of the big games that they are going to have that you should look out for next season, because let me tell you, we have some very high-level athletes in this episode, some of the best athletes across the state in this upcoming year. All but one of them are going to be seniors, and they're part of the reason that the class of 2026 is one of the best classes we have had in this state's history. So we're just going to jump straight into it with Zavious Chineth. Chineth is a 5'11", 180-pound running back from Northfield, and his sophomore year, the Nighthawk had 507 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, and his junior season last year, he had over 1,100 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 131 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown, and was just an all-around amazing player for Northfield. And looking at his running back film breakdown grade, he has a 79.35 on a 100-point scale. And his 3 highest grades on that list are acceleration, where he has an 8.4 out of 10, balance or body control, where he has a 4.2 out of 5, and second level vision, reacting and reading linebackers in the secondary, where he has a 4.2 out of 5. His 3 lowest grades, though, are contested catches in receiving, a 3.0 out of 5, route running, a 3 out of 5, and pass blocking, which is a 3.5 out of 5. His overall grades on this list, frame, he has an 8 out of 10, versatility, 8.25 out of 10, acceleration, again, 8.4, straight line speed, 8.3, and agility, which are cuts and change of direction, 8.1. The category is graded on a 5-point scale. Again, first level vision, reading blocks and the line, he has a 4.1 out of 5. Second level vision, 4.2. The contested catches, again, with a 3, as well as route running. Hands, he has a 4 out of 5. Rack threat, so receiving, he has a 4.1. Balance and body control, he has a 4.2. Elusiveness, a 4.1. Tackle breaking, which is direct contact. Tackle shedding and trucking, along with stiff arms, is a 4.1. And pass blocking, again, a 3.5. He also runs an 11.700 meters, so pretty fast player there. And when it comes to the film notes, Simon says that, quote, Chineth might just be getting started despite already having a nice junior breakout season that saw him averaging 7 yards a carry. He is a big home run hitting RB who has the breakaway speed to rip off big gain after big gain. On top of that, he is a physical back who runs with a good pad level and will punish secondaries that are not ready to be physical. Look at the opening play of his junior year highlight reel. From what Simon has seen, he believes that Chineth can be an FCS type back, if not a guaranteed D2 guy. Look for big numbers put up by him his senior year. Now, looking at his social media, the only offer that we see is from Putnam Science Academy, but we think that Chineth is going to be the type of guy that gets some big offers this season, definitely an RMAC guy, if not some of those big D2 power conferences or an FCS type of running back. Looking at potential big games this season, you're going to need to look a lot at the out-of-conference schedule, where Northfield is going to be playing Mesa Ridge and Heritage as the main big good games. But looking at the schedule as a whole, the Nighthawks open at Roosevelt. Then we'll be hosting Mesa Ridge and Heritage, going down to Pueblo East, a 3A team, hosting Denver South, a 5A team, at Thomas Jefferson, and then the last three opponents are Montbello, Denver North, and Georgia Washington. So Mesa Ridge, I believe that's going to be a good game because that is a historically good program, made a good deep playoff run last year in 4A, and they are returning a good amount of players. Heritage as well, they are gearing up to have one of the best defenses in 4A. And listen, this isn't the best league in the state. I think Thomas Jefferson will make a run at the league title with Northfield. That game is probably going to be the league championship. We'll see how that goes. But outside of Mesa Ridge and Heritage, this is kind of confusing out of conference with 2 3A teams and a 5A team. Not fully sure what's going on here. But regardless, I do think that Chineth is going to go off this season, probably an Offensive Playmaker of the Year candidate at the very least, if not MVP. So, again, that is Zavious Chineth, the running back from Northfield High School. Again, he is a senior this upcoming season, a 79.35 on our grading scale, and just one of the players that you know is going to have a amazing year his senior year, barring injury, and all around we cannot wait to see what Chineth does for the Nighthawks. Next up, we have the one, the only Pierce Decker, a 6'7", 250-pound offensive tackle from Poudre High School. And looking at his stats from the last couple of seasons, his sophomore year, he was an offensive line starter. And then, he was last year as well. He had 48 tackles on defense as well as an edge rusher with 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2 pass deflections. Now, Decker, a little bit light for an offensive tackle, but he is a big-time player still. His overall offensive tackle film breakdown grade is a 79.5, with his 3 highest grades being pass protection with an 8.2 out of 10, reaction time with a 4.2 out of 5, and play recognition, which is finishing blocks and making it to the next level, with a 4.1 out of 5. His 3 lowest grades, and this is a good sign, his lowest grade is a 7 out of 10 or a 3.5 out of 5, are hands. His second lowest grade is his drop step with a 3.8 out of 5, and his plant step, his kick step, has the same score with a 3.8 out of 5. For the film notes from Simon, quote, "There is a lot of potential for Pierce Decker, who is a tall lineman but needs to fill out. He's a solid pass blocker and run blocker, but Simon thinks both those things could immediately improve drastically when he gains some weight and a little bit of strength with that. He could also use some polishing with his hand placement and overall pass pro technique. Regardless, he will be Poudre's best player this season unless something really, really weird happens." In terms of offers, Decker is committed to Wyoming with offers from Sacramento State, South Dakota, Eastern Washington, Northern Arizona, North Dakota, and Northern Colorado. And looking at the upcoming schedule for Poudre, the big games that they have on the books for this season are, the biggest games are Riverdale Ridge, who's a team gearing up for a season of championship contention in 4A. Fort Collins, who has good linebackers and edge rushers, as well as Decker is going to be able to line up against Mason Bandhauer, who I'll be covering next episode, who is a Power 5 commit to Iowa State. And then Loveland as well, solid rivals, and Loveland is also a college player factory, so you'll be able to see how Decker performs against guys on a very consistent and very good defensive team in the Loveland Red Wolves. Otherwise, the Impalas of Pooter will also be playing at Monarch, Timnath, at Golden versus Rocky Mountain, Greeley West, Fredericks, and Silver Creek, and again, Riverdale Ridge, Fort Collins, and Loveland. So a pretty good opportunity of good games this season outside of the Timnath game, really, for Decker to put on a show. I would arguably say that Golden is also a good game to watch, but we're just going to have to see how the Impalas do this season, because Decker is going to be, in my opinion at least, the best player on that team. And they'll basically just go as far as he goes. So we'll see what happens, but ultimately, Decker is one of my favorite players to watch, and I cannot wait to see what the Impalas do this season and how Decker performs against those high-level defensive players. Now, our next player that we are going to look at here is a 6'4", 230-pound tight end who is at Thomas Jefferson now by way of Riverdale Ridge. Yes, it is one Jack Hodge. And now, Hodge, he may not have had the flashiest season in the state last year, but he made a very big impact for the Ravens, and he will likely continue to do so for the Spartans of Thomas Jefferson. Now, looking at his stats, last year he had 235 receiving yards with 4 receiving touchdowns and 2 conversions. And looking at Hodge's tight end film breakdown grade, his 3 highest grades here are ball skills, which come in at a 4.3 out of 5, contested catching, which are a 4.25 out of 5, and hands at a 8.5 out of 10. His 3 lowest grades are tackle breaking, which is direct contact tackle shedding with a 3 out of 5, pass blocking, which is a 3 out of 5, and the 3rd lowest grade is a tie between elusiveness, which is cutability, at a 3.5 out of 5, and strength with a 3.5 out of 5. The overall grades for Mr. Hodge: frame, he has an 8.3 out of 10. This is the ones on the 10-point scale. Versatility, an 8 out of 10. Run blocking, a 7 out of 10. Hands, an 8.5 out of 10 again there. And then in terms of pass blocking, he has a 3 out of 5. We're now on to our 5-point grades here. Straight line speed is a 4. Acceleration is a 4.2, agility is a 4, contested catching is a 4.25, run after catch or rack is a 3.7, strength is a 3.5, route running is a 4, that includes the route tree, vertical is a 4.2, elusiveness is a 3.5, tackle breaking is a 3, and then ball skills are a 4.3, making it a 77.45 there. And so, looking at the notes from Simon on Jack Hodge, quote, Jack is so reliable as a receiver. He consistently makes tough and contested catches, whether it's a toe tap sideline catch or something over the middle where he knows he is going to get crushed. That reliability, along with his frame, makes him somebody that colleges can work with. He does a good job being a security blanket and finding open space when his QB is out of structure. That being said, he is a raw prospect who will need to have a senior leap, and even then may need time to develop. He's not the strongest or best blocker, and there are times he is hesitant to go block, and when he does, he blocks the wrong guy or is too high on his blocking. The extra weight should help him finish blocks better, but there are things as a whole that he needs to work on blocking-wise. He also isn't the biggest standout athlete at this frame, but he is solid enough. Simon thinks that at the very least, Hodge is a D2 guy, and going into his senior year, he should be looking to put out film that makes him look like a more well-rounded tight end. So basically, Hodge is a primary receiving tight end that needs a little bit more film and development on the blocking side of the ball. In terms of offers, Hodge actually holds an offer from Fort Lewis. That's the only one that we could see, but we are optimistic that Hodge will get some more RMAC offers here. And in terms of potential big games this season, looking first at the schedule as a whole, TJ will open against Niwot, then face Mountain Range, Golden, Highlands Ranch, Longmont, Northfield, Denver North, Aurora Central, George Washington, and then close the season at Montbello, at least the regular season. We'll see if the Spartans make the playoffs. And looking at the games that I would say, go to these games if you're a college coach. Take a look at these game film, at these games film in particular if you're looking at Hodge. First, I would say Northfield, and Hodge actually bumps this up to a much more winnable game for Thomas Jefferson. The Nighthawks, as we went over in Chineth's section, are a pretty solid team with historically good players. They made the playoffs in 4A last year, and they actually do have some pretty good defensive players for Hodge to line up against. Longmont as well, that is a team with some good physical defense. They may not always be the best team, but they're a team that you know is going to fight you. Well, not actually fight you, but you know they're going to make things difficult for you. And then the President's Cup against George Washington. I don't know if that's what this game is actually called. I just like saying it. But I like calling it the President's Cup. But here's the thing. George Washington has a lot of high-level athletes, and I'm looking forward to this matchup. Historically, George Washington's also a team that puts up a very good fight. They're the type of team that, I interviewed a player a couple of years ago who said, they may not be the best team record-wise, but for the record they will be one of the toughest teams to beat that you have met. And so I like all three of these games. I think that if you're a coach looking at Hodge, those are the games that you zone in on. I think Golden is also a pretty good one. I think Golden might be a playoff team this year, but they're a bit iffy in my mind. And all around, I think that Hodge will have a pretty good year. I'm curious about how he's going to fit with Nick Ratty as his QB, but all around, we shall see how that goes for him and the rest of the Spartans. Best of luck to you, Jack, and I wish all these players the best of luck this season. Moving down south now, our next player is Ethan Mangrum, the 5'9", 170-pound running back from Sand Creek. And last year, he actually played a quarterback for the Scorpions, but we have gotten confirmation that he's going to be slotted back at RB for this upcoming year. And so looking at it, started out his high school career as a freshman at Falcon, was a Newcomer of the Year finalist with 300 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 200 kick return yards almost, and 126 receiving yards. And last year, humongous jump at Sand Creek, which he transferred to, obviously. He had 1,400 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, 90 kick return yards, and on defense had 20 tackles, half a sack, a pick, a forced fumble, and 2 pass deflections. So he plays all over the field. He knows how to get it done. And looking at his RB film breakdown grade, Mangrum comes in with a 74.2 out of 100. Now, that's not a bad grade, and we think that with time to focus more on playing RB, he's going to develop really well, which shows in the 3 highest grades here. Versatility is his highest grade, one of the few that has a 9 out of 10 on any category of any of the players that we have looked at here in our Spotlight series. A 9 out of 10 for versatility, 8.7 out of 10 for acceleration, and then his other highest grade is a tie between straight line speed, which is an 8.4, first level vision, which is a 4.2 out of 5, 8.4 out of 10 for straight line speed, and then a 4.2 out of 5 for elusiveness, which is cut ability. His 3 lowest grades, he has a 2 out of 5 for pass blocking, and then it is a tie for some of this stuff, which, I mean, part of it is just he played quarterback, so he couldn't get as much of this route running. For receiving, a 3 out of 5, hands, a 3 out of 5, contested catches, which is receiving, a 3 out of 5, and then frame, which is a 6 out of 10. I think with more development at those at the RB position and more usage outside of the Wildcat QB, those are just going to go up. I mean, you can't really do very much pass blocking if you're the one passing. And in terms of the running back film notes from Simon, quote, the former Falcon had a breakout sophomore year with Sand Creek and is just getting started. He played a lot of Wildcat QB, but right now projects as a college RB. He has exceptional acceleration and very good straight line speed, and on top of that, he has shown good cut ability, which means he can break down defenders, making them miss. Simon thinks he can definitely put on some weight to make him a better tackle breaker, but he can still improve on his receiving skills. So there's still a ways to go, but Mangrum really impressed with his sophomore campaign and could be due for a bigger junior year. Now, as he is only an incoming junior, he doesn't have any offers that we're aware of, but for college coaches looking out, here are some of the big game. Well, here's their entire schedule, and then we will highlight some of the big games that he has upcoming this season. The first game on the schedule we have here is versus Denver East. Then the Scorpions will be facing Harrison, Air Academy, Widefield, Palmer, Thornton, Cheyenne Mountain, Gateway, Centaurus, and Grand Junction. And this is another kind of weird schedule like Northfield has, but part of it the Scorpions couldn't really control. They were in that I-25 development league, so they just had to do their best with the out-of-conference games. And speaking of those out-of-conference games, our first game to watch for Mangrum is going to be but it's going to be against Denver East. Now, Denver East, they are a power team on the 5A level, and they're really just a team that has a lot going for them with good defensive players. The past 2 years, they've had players make our top 5 at linebacker and D end, and with their coaching staff is just pretty solid when it comes to putting together a defense. Another team that I think you should look at if you're a college coach evaluating Mangrum is at Air Academy. So Air Academy was a good team last year, and they're returning some good defensive players like Jackson Smedeka and Nico Tellini. I think those are going to be some interesting matchups for Mangrum. And then the other team, honestly, really the best team in their league is going to be Grand Junction. This is a rematch of last year's league championship, and that's probably going to be the only other good team in this league. I think Sand Creek will win that game, but yeah, the I-25 Development League, Sand Creek is basically guaranteed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 wins this year, depending on how the Denver East, Air Academy, and Grand Junction games go. Maybe Centaurus will be close. Centaurus has a good quarterback and a good tight end. But yeah, in all truthfulness, Mangrum should have an amazing year statistically, and those are the games you're going to want to look at in terms of seeing how he does against big-time players making big-time plays. Our next player spotlight is actually 2 in 1. We are looking at Josiah Manu. Yes, the 6'5", 295-pound offensive and defensive lineman from the reigning 3A state champions in Thompson Valley. And so looking at his stats from the last few seasons, he has been a consistent starter for the past couple of years at Thompson Valley. His freshman year, he had 13 tackles. Sophomore year, he had 30 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. And his junior season, he had 55 tackles, 9 of which for loss, a sack, and 2 fumble recoveries. Was an all-PMC guy, as well as one of the state champions in Colorado. And so first I'm going to go through his interior offensive line grades, then his defensive tackle grades, and then we're going to go through the commitments and big games this season. So First, looking at the offensive side of the ball, Manu has an 83.95 out of 100 here, so very, very good. His 3 highest grades are versatility with an 8.7 out of 10, strength on the field and in the weight room an 8.7 out of 10, and frame with an 8.6 out of 10. His 3 lowest grades are second level with 3.8 out of 5, ability to pick up a blitz with a 4 out of 5, and pass protection with a 4 out of 5. It's kind of hard to overstate this, but his lowest grades are higher than some guys' highest grades, which is kind of crazy. His overall scores here, looking at them, we have, the 8.6 out of 10 for frame, 8.7 for versatility, and this is the ones on a 10-point scale. An 8.6 out of 10 for pull blocking, so that is plant step, opening hip step, IDing and blocking the right player. 8.7 for strength, 8.25 out of 10 for run blocking, 8.5 for contact, which is head, shoulder position, and contact initiation. For the grades done on a 5-point scale, Manu has a 4.1 out of 5 for hands, 4 for pass protection, 4.1 for combo blocking, so who's getting the double team and who peels off, 3.8 for second level, 4.2 for line step. Does he finish blocks? Yes, a 4.3 out of 5, 4 for ability to pick up a blitz, and 4.1 for reaction time. Seriously, this guy only has 1 grade below an 8 out of 10, which is absolutely insane. And so for his interior offensive line film notes, Simon says that, quote, Josiah Manu has much more defensive line film, but Simon thinks he projects better as an interior offensive lineman on the next level, which is where most of his offers are at. At the interior offensive line, he really sets the tone in the run game, getting good leverage and proving to be a key part of the run game. Most of the questions come in pass protection, where he has not had the opportunity to see a lot, but Manu is solid, and this could be something that changes with more film from his senior year. Simon does think that he can do a better job at working to the next level to spring much more big run plays and going beyond just pancaking the first guy. On the defensive side of the ball, Manu has an 83.5 out of 100 at D tackle. His 3 highest grades are play recognition, which is arm extension looking into the backfield and batting passes, with an 8.6 out of 10, frame with an 8.8 out of 10, and finesse run block shedding with a 4.3 out of 5. His 3 lowest grades are power run block shedding with a 4 out of 5, hit power and strip, which is an 8 out of 10, and agility and hip mobility, stunting at an 8 out of 10. Simon's film notes, quote, Manu is a name that we have known for a minute. Last year he anchored a state championship team that was both massive up front on both sides of the ball, and he is a versatile football player as someone who has played both guard and D tackle. Now, he's a big DT with the ability to get his hands on opposing linemen through his long reach and massive frame. Despite the long wingspan, he displays good control at the center of attack and gets good leverage to either penetrate or hold and then go make the play. His block shedding, specifically his finesse moves, are very notable, as he does display a solid arsenal of moves to work with. Simon does wish that his hand fighting was a little bit quicker and that he had a bit more power to really blow up plays. Going into his senior year, he looks to defend Thompson Valley's title, but should also be due for another dominant season on both sides of the ball as an individual. In terms of offers, Josiah Manu is actually committed to San Jose State as a DT, if the graphic from Brandon Huffman is to be believed. And he also has offers from Portland State, Arizona, Washington State, Fresno State, South Dakota, and Wyoming. I really wish CSU was on that list, but there's nothing I can do about that. He's also committed with his teammate Keenan Parks, who, we won't be doing a player spotlight on Parks, but another very good player. Kind of a side note, Thompson Valley's offensive line is just going to be awesome between those two and Blake Chabon. And looking at Thompson Valley's upcoming season, they have a lot of good games in a very good league to try to defend that state championship title. And looking at their schedule here, the Eagles open the season against a very well-coached Berthoud team before playing Greeley Central, Timnath, playing up in the 4A level against Loveland, then back to 3A in Northridge, and then they start their league schedule against Severance, Mountain View, Fort Morgan, Roosevelt, and finally against Pomona. And so, looking at the biggest games on the schedule, games that he's already committed, but if you were a coach and he wasn't committed, I would look at Loveland is the first game I would look at. That's a higher classification team with solid defensive linemen and linebackers. Roosevelt is another one. They are consistently one of the best teams in the state and have been for years, as well as Pomona, who are a team that was a Final Four squad last year. They run a very consistent offense and are very good defensively. So I think that those three games are probably going to be the best three. But honestly, looking at the schedule, I think that there are only 2 or 3 games on here that'll be duds. Really, that's going to be... Well, I'm not going to put any teams down, but if you know, you know. I think probably 7 of these 10 games are going to be good matchups and are going to let Manu really flex his muscle against players that may not be on his level. It's very hard to be on his level, but are close to his skill level and his ability. So, best of luck this season, Josiah, and I can't wait to see what you and the Eagles do to defend your title. And our last player of the day, another 3A guy. One of my favorite players to watch in the entire state is a 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver out of Pueblo South. It is the one, the only, Jake Pisciotta. And now, the past couple of seasons, Pisciotta is a sophomore. He's a senior this year. An incoming senior. As a sophomore, he had 550 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns, 46 tackles, 2 picks, and 2 pass deflections. And as a junior, he had 985 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, 100 kick return yards, 19 tackles, 4 picks, 2 pass deflections, and 2 fumble recoveries with a pick 6. Now, as a receiver, his film breakdown grade was an 83 overall. Now, his highest grades, his 3 highest grades, are ball skills, adjusting to the throw with a 4.3 out of 5, acceleration with a 4.3 out of 5, and then the 3rd highest grade is a tie between versatility with 8.5 out of 10, speed with a 4.25 out of 5, and then run after catch, field vision with the ball in hand, which was a 4.25 out of 5. His 3 lowest grades, again, good sign when the lowest possible grade is a 7 out of 10, but his lowest grade is tackle breaking with a 3.5 out of 5. His route tree is a 4 out of 5, and then blocking run/screen is a 4 out of 5. Simon's film notes for Pisciotta, quote, "This kid has developed into arguably the best wide receiver in the state, and he deserves more recognition. At his height, he has great hands and ball skills to go with his athleticism. Simon loves his releases and route running as he gets so much separation before even getting the ball. He is one of the most polished at his position and should have more college offers than he has now. On top of that, he is a good DB, and Simon thinks that scouts may be overlooking the talent he plays against, but Pisciotta is a ball player who is a true wide receiver 1 on the high school level. And his senior year could be a lot of fun." And so Pisciotta, in terms of offers, actually picked up his second offer yesterday as of recording. Today is July 19th of 2025. Yesterday, he got offered by Adams State, and before that, he had an offer from Fort Lewis. Pisciotta is just the type of guy that you, as a college coach, if you're listening to this, you should offer. I'm just being straight up. You should offer Pisciotta. Another player that I would be pretty happy to see in the green and gold join former Pueblo South Colt Jay Spella. But all around, I think that Pisciotta is someone that will be successful on the college level, and I think that if he goes to a D2, I mean, he'll probably transfer to an FCS school at the very least within a year or two at an RMAC school. Looking at the games on the schedule for Pueblo South next year, they open up the year at home against Meade. Then we'll be playing Falcon, Pueblo East, Skyline, Pueblo County, Palmer, Pueblo Centennial, Harrison, Lewis Palmer, and then close the year versus Discovery Canyon. Now, in terms of the games that I think will be the best games to watch to assess Pisciotta's abilities, I think that the opener against Meade will be a very good one. Meade was the state championship runner-up last year, and they have some pretty darn good DBs for Pisciotta to face, guys like Bryson Gissel. Lewis Palmer is another one. They're a consistent playoff team with good athletes. They're overachievers basically every year, and I think looking at how Pisciotta does against that squad will be a good litmus test, as well as Discovery Canyon. DCC is just a team that consistently produces not just good players, but smart players. And I think that, honestly, DCC, they have a very good line, meaning that Pisciotta's quarterback, Caden Herrera, will have to be a bit more creative. And so I think that'll make Pisciotta adjust a little bit, and I think that'll make those players uncomfortable. And honestly, I like seeing more what players do when they're uncomfortable than when they are comfortable. And so, honestly, those are the three games that I think will be the best ones to watch to assess Pisciotta's potential. And so, again, that is Jake Pisciotta, the wide receiver from Pueblo South, with a wide receiver film breakdown grade of 83 out of 100. And that's just from his junior year film. We will see how he progresses going into his senior year, but for me, he is an early candidate for MVP. This isn't me speaking for the podcast. This is me speaking for me. Early MVP candidate, early All-PMC candidate, and honestly, potentially an early top 5 candidate at the wide receiver position. So looking forward to seeing how Pisciotta and all of these guys do this season, because Pisciotta is the last of our evaluations for this episode. And with that, we're going to be ending it for now, at least. I'll be back relatively soon with my 5A special, covering some of the best talents across the state in 5A, including Jackson Pyatt, Will Monroe, Enzo Pulte, Mason Bandhauer, and Angel Chavez. But that is for next episode. If you want to see more about Playmakers Corner, including our watch lists, you can find us on social media at Playmakers Corner on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, at Playmaker Corner on X, aka Twitter. You can listen to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, be it YouTube, Google, or Spotify. And I hope that you are having an amazing day. Stay safe. We can't wait to see how you and your team do this season. And ultimately, that is it for me today. I will catch you all on the flip. Peace.